All right, welcome back to Kossi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi Martin Odegaard. How could Arsenal set up? How could we line up with Martin Odegaard? Of course, we know he's going to be included in this squad. He has to self-isolate for 10 days. We're going to be talking that and more. But the focus of this video is going to be how could we actually line up with Martin Odegaard? What does he bring at Arsenal? Galen Beleg says he is like a Modric, a Santi Cazorla, Tony Cruz, that kind of player. And many people say, many people, many journalists in Netherlands, because he's been there, playing there at, Heerenveen and there. Many people will tell you that he's good as a right winger, as a number 10, as a left winger. And of course, 5 years ago or 6 years ago, before he joined Real Madrid, he was a typical number 10. He was a wonder kid. Many people looked at him as the new Messi, as the Norwegian Messi. So what did we sign in Martin Odegaard? How are we going to line up with Martin Odegaard? And what do we expect out of Martin Odegaard? I'm going to be doing the predicted lineup, and I'll tell you much more of what I think of this boy. So let us just go down into the predicted lineup and see how could actually Arsenal line up with Martin Odegaard. And I'm going to use two formations. I'll use a 4-3-3 and I'll use a 4-2-3-1. But let us start with the 4-3-3. Of course, there are things that we do not need to debate about, like the goalkeeper that remains as Ban Leno. Obviously, the centre-back partnership is a little bit tricky these days. We were sure at the beginning of the season that Gabriel and maybe Luis and Rob Holding, were fit to play, but Pablo Mari coming back into the picture, and then Gabriel Magalhaes also being available, Rob Holding and David Louis. By the way, all of our defenders, central defenders, are always doing good. They're not so much of disappointing like the other players in the squad. So I think. But I'll go with Gabriel. I think for the rest of the season, we should be lining up with Gabriel Magalhaes. I just think like that. I just think it like that. And then partner him with Rob Holding, because that is what I expect Mikel Arteta to do. So Rob Holding will be, the other centre-back, there. In the right back, Hector Bellerin is a consistent figure for Mikel Arteta. And of course in the left back you expect Kieran Tierney, who doesn't have a backup at the club, and of course if he gets injured, that is where the big problems come in. But my focus is not on the defense, but I suspect that we shall line up like that for the rest of the season, especially the Premier League games and the Europa League games. As of course that depends on how far we will go in Europa League. But in the midfield, this is where the drama comes in. If you're playing a 4-3-3, you have to choose 3 midfielders and 3 players on the forward line. So do you include Martin Odegaard on the forward line, or do you include him as part of the 3 midfielders? And what's interesting is, of course, let us just put Thomas Partey, just to be sure that we do not actually make a mistake by forgetting him. You have Thomas Partey there, and on the left-hand side of the midfield, where I've been using Granit Xhaka, I'm gonna be tempted to use Martin Odegaard. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be tempted to use Martin Odegaard on the left-hand side of the midfield, and then on the right-hand side of the midfield, of course, who I'm going to go for. That's going to be Emil Smith Rowe. So, that kind of midfield, yeah, that kind of midfield. It looks a little bit kiddish, Odegaard and Smith Rowe, and it also looks like it's going to pour a defensive burden on Thomas Partey, because Martin Odegaard is one guy that is so good at going forward, useless when you do not have the ball. I think Emile Smith Rowe is not so useless when you do not have the ball. I think the fact that he's English, he has this, donkey man, kind of work ethic. He works so hard. Whether he has the ball or whether he doesn't have the ball, he works so hard. Now, you move up here, of course, on the left wing, where I disagree with Mikel Arteta. He likes using Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang there, but we have no option, because I think with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang coming back on form and Alexander Lacazette already being on form, so we have no option. We have to use both of them. Of course, that means we will have to use Aubameyang on the left. Of course, Bukayo Saka has already established himself as the best player on the right this season, as Alexander Lacazette has done in the number 9 position. So we could line up that like that in a 4-3-3 with Odegaard, Partey, and Emile Smith-Rowe in that midfield, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Bukayo Saka on the front line. When you look at this lineup, I'm gonna tell you something. It guarantees you goals. It guarantees you goals. Aubameyang can score, Lacazette can score, Bukayo Saka can create a lot of chances, Emile Smith-Rowe creates a lot of chances, Partey creates a lot of chances, and Odegaard creates a lot of chances. So that means you almost have 1, 2, 3, 4 players from the center line to the enemy's territory that are creating chances, and you already have 2 would-be clinical finishers if they decide to finish, because I know, of course, we know they have been so awful this season. Aubameyang not finishing and Lacazette being a prick. But if they decide to finish, they are clinical. They are clinical finishers. And of course, Bukayo Saka and Thomas Partey have been very reliable with Emile Smith-Rowe in creating chances. And then, of course, you have Hector Bellerin and Kian Tierney as fullbacks joining in. Tierney is doing a very great job these days, creating so many chances, time in, time out. Very, very brilliant. So brilliant. Of course, Hector Bellerin has had his own problems this season, but I believe he's getting better and better and better and better day in, day out. So that could be our 4-3-3. What about a 4-2-3-1? Let me just look out here for a 4-2-3-1 formation. And I'm going to use 4-2-3-1. Should I use A? Because B looks a little bit ridiculous. Okay. This is a 4-4-2. I want a 4-2-3-1 A. Exactly. A 4-2-3-1 A. Now, if you use a 4-2-3-1 A, you see Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard drop deeper in the midfield. Emile Smith-Rowe is just ahead of them. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Bukayo Saka are following Alexander Lacazette. But of course, the sense is Aubameyang and Saka are coming through the wings. But the reason as to why they're just inside is to let Kian Tierney and Hector Bellerin have a free flow from back to front and then back again. So we've been using a 4-2-3-1 these days. It's been working, to be sure. It's been working. I think it's been working for us. And, you know, it gives you that defensive assurance, first and foremost. If I'm not mistaken, it gives you that defensive assurance. Then the other thing it gives you is you have a lot of numbers going forward. You almost have 6 or 7 players going forward. And when any team tries to get you on the attack or on the break, then you have almost 5 players, or 4 players, to fall back if you're caught on the break. It's a very good formation. I love it, and I really love managers that use a 4-2-3-1, like Leicester City's Brendan Rodgers. He plays good football. Southampton, they always use that 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, and they look so good. They look so good. I really love the 4-2-3-1. So, and what really these lineups, or what both of these lineups show us, is Martin Odegaard might not actually play as a number 10, or we might not need to sacrifice Emile Smith-Rowe. But in case we don't use Bukayo Saka, of course you can notice that I've already thrown out Gabriel Martinelli out of this lineup. I've already thrown out Martinelli, and it really hurts me because for me I think he's the best, he's the most talented and technically gifted youngster at Arsenal. There is no way, there is no excuse for me dropping him. And of course, the only reason I'm dropping him is Lacazette is on form and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is our captain. And of course, he's undroppable, isn't he? So there's no way I'm going to drop him for Gabriel Martinelli. But the fact is, if we decide to drop Aubameyang, Odegaard can come in. If we decide to drop Bukayo Saka, Odegaard can play on both wings, which actually makes us a little bit stronger in terms of squad depth. Something that we've been lacking for so long. Not because we have not because we don't have numbers, because I think we have the numbers. We had 27 players out of the 25, we had to register 25 and we had 27. So we had an excess of 2 players. But the truth is, they were not, the excess players off the pitch are not quality. Muhammad Elneny is not quality. Danny Ceballos is not quality. None of them is a game changers. But now you have Willian on the bench, you have Pepe on the bench, you have Gabriel Martinelli on the bench. Those are those three. Okay, if God helps us, yeah, if God helps us, they can be game changers. Apart from Gabriel Martinelli, he doesn't need prayers. That one is a game changer. He can't change games. And even if you change, you decide that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang plays as a striker, then you can use Martin Odegaard as a number 10, and Emile Smith-Rowe can drop a little bit deeper to play with Thomas Partey. So I think it's a big signing. Either way, however negative, however positive we try to analyze it, it's a positive. It's a positive signing. It is positive energy. It is something good that is coming to us now. And I am just so much delighted to announce that anytime we are about to announce the arrival of Martin Odegaard, and trust me, before you know it, I'll have announced that we have signed Martin Odegaard from the club itself, Real Madrid. Everything is done. The deal is done. We are just waiting for lazy Arsenal to put him on a medical, and of course, lazy Arsenal to announce the signature of the player. But apart from that, everything is done. And look ahead. We have a game against Southampton, so we better look ahead. I'll speak to you very, very soon. Smash that like button. What else do you need to do? I need your thoughts in the comments. That will be all for now.